It's Thanksgiving. Yes, honey. Wow. Sounds good. Hey, friends. I am so excited to be with you today. We do things a little differently here. Now, yes, we cook and we make food and all the things, but listen, food is not just the only ingredient on your plate. This is the mindful plate. So we also talk about ways to be more mindful when you're cooking and when you're eating, because mindfulness is an ingredient too. We're going to do 4 things first before we get into the recipe. So if you're impatient and you're like, girl, just show me the recipes, feel free to skip ahead. I've already time-stamped and marked the chapters for you. But for those of you who want to get grounded and settled in the mindfulness, sis, I got you. Pull up a seat. Now, when it comes to cooking Thanksgiving meals, holiday meals, there are a few things you want to be mindful of. The first thing is just recognizing that this can be a very stressful time of year. There's a lot going on. And a lot of it is exciting and fun, but even excitement and fun can be stressful too. So the first thing you want to do before you get into anybody's kitchen, especially if you're cooking or helping cook, get your spirit right. Get your spirit right. Why? Because you don't want to give the people indigestion, sis. Have you ever eaten a meal or cooked a meal where you knew you just weren't in the mood and it showed? It came off. The flavors weren't hitting. People weren't just feeling the joy that they normally get. Get your spirit right. Center yourself. Do what you need to do before you get into the kitchen so that when people eat you, yes, they're definitely eating you, the essence of you, when they eat your food, they feel the wellness and the wholeness, because this is Thanksgiving, Thanks-living. We are giving thanks for life, and we don't want to be eating something that we actually don't feel grateful for because it gave us the runs later. So get your spirit right. The second thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and set your table before you eat. Trust me, it's going to save you so much stress. Whether you guys are like having a buffet table, then everybody's going to go sit in the living room, or you actually have a table, whatever area it's going to be, set it up. And what this also allows you to do as the hostess with the mostest, it allows you to pray over that setting, to receive the guests before they come. You want to speak life and energy over every single setting, over every single plate. For whatever it is that you wish and pray for your guests, you want to imbibe that space with energy and wholeness and wellness, right? So pray over the space, set the table before you cook. It's going to save you so much stress in the end. The third thing you want to do, get your playlist, sis. Yes, get into the kitchen. Hey, get into the kitchen. Get your playlist on. I don't care what it is that you like, but whatever music that you like that just like gets the energy high, gets you ready and motivated, and just like, helps you carry through. That's what you need, because if you have cooked Thanksgiving meal before, then you already know it's a sport in of itself. It's a tiring thing. So what you want is that energy from that music to help create stamina to carry you through. Get your playlist ready, girl. Put it on, enjoy, and let those vibes also help you bring up your vibes so that when you're cooking, that's the energy that's going into the food. And then the fourth thing, before we get into the cooking, I want you to cook by spirit. Now, I know you probably came to this video because you're like, yes, girl, give me the recipe. Ooh, if you're new here, then you might want to know, honey, you on the wrong channel if you came for recipes, because what I do is I cook by spirit. There are times where I document the recipes, and I do sell several cookbooks. So if you're interested in recipes, feel free to get those cookbooks. Some of these recipes are actually in them that I'm going to be cooking. But honestly, here's what I know to be true. When you cook by spirit, and you let the vibes and the mood and the ancestors in, they will tell you how much and when. So you have to trust that process. And I'm gonna take you through the process. However, I really want you to use what I'm showing you as a guide and not as a rule. And just trust that you can replicate it to your taste, to your liking, on your own as well, because I can't help myself. That's just how I get down in the kitchen. However, let's get on to the food. Now we know that generally turkey has taken the centerpiece and the stage. It's been the star of Thanksgiving. Even when I ate meat, turkey was never my vibe. What I am creating is a stuffed butternut squash. I'm gonna be stuffing it with a nice sage mushroom walnut filling. Butternut squash on its own is kind of sweet, which is all right, but it's also just butternut squash and I wanna add some oomph to it. So to do that, I'm going to make a sage garlic oil that I'm gonna use to brush my butternut squash for when we roast it. Now remember, we're just adding seasoning and flavor to the oil. So you just chop that sage and that garlic up and put it right in the oil. You don't want to burn it. You just want that oil to taste just as delicious as the sage and the garlic. That sizzle. God, this is so good. Now you notice that garlic is starting to brown. All good. Don't worry about it. And also you notice I'm using a wooden spoon here. For some of you who have nonstick pans, you've been using metal utensils in your nonstick pans and you wonder why the bottom is all scratched up. Use wooden spoons, bamboo. It's so much easier on your pot when it comes to nurturing our food and cooking it, being gentle with it, letting it do its thing without too much outside disturbance. Using wooden or bamboo helps so much. It would not be a holiday meal if we did not have beautiful gourds to join us at our table. Now, I have been to Thanksgiving meals where they take these gourds and they literally are just like the centerpiece. We're gonna take these off the centerpiece. They're not decoration, they're food and we're gonna eat them. We're gonna first cut our butternut squash. Now, you need a good knife and some arm power, honey. So if you've been missing arm day at the gym, you might make up for the whole year, honestly, just trying to cut through these things. Oh, Lord, yes. The power of a good knife, though. Oh, beautiful. There we are. We're just gonna scoop out the middle. Now, depending on how ripe your gourd is, scooping might be easy or not. This particular butternut squash has a very small hole. And because I'm stuffing these, like this is the main piece, I'm gonna make this hole a little bigger by using my knife and scooping out more of the flesh. And I do this simply by cutting. I'm just scoring it a bit. It also helps because it allows more heat to go through. So you just wanna cut some slits into, ooh, Lord child, don't. Don't do what I did. Don't cut through it. Shelly. Girl, we trying. This is why you do arm day, so that you can have more regulation over how you're cutting and not go all the way in. Now, you remember that wonderful sage garlic oil that we made? Well, we're going to be using that. Now, here's what I want you to get present to. You have pieces in here. So you have sage and garlic pieces. I just want you to focus on the oil. Save that crispy sage and garlic piece for the final part. But if you put it in at this stage, all it's going to do is get crispy or possibly burnt in the roasting process. And we're going to rub it down. Yes. Ooh, wow. You could skip this step. Honestly, if you're like, oh, it's too much oil, I won't be bothered. But I'm telling you, this adds the flavor. Because like I said, butternut squash on its own can just be butternut squash. And honey, I want not just butternut squash. Because we're not doing turkey, we really want something meaty still. So for the main dish, that stuffed butternut squash, we are gonna be using mushroom and walnuts. But to start, you remember how we roasted that butternut squash with that garlic sage oil? Well, we're gonna finish that off. We're gonna pour that back into our pan. That's right, because you know, we need all the flavor. And those crunchy garlic bits, those are so, so nice. We're gonna heat that oil up. I wanna create a flavor base with onion and celery. I'm starting with my onion. Gonna add in my celery at the same time. Now I'm gonna add in my garlic. How much, you ask? What did I say in the beginning? Whatever your spirit tells you. You love garlic, go in. Don't like it, take it out. I always treat it as if it was when I was eating meat. When I ate meat, I did not skimp on the onion and the garlic and all the seasonings and flavors. And so this is no different. Now I'm gonna add in some of my sage. For the sage, I just cut them into ribbons. I didn't chop them too fine because I already had the fine sage in the oil. So just chop these into ribbons and just putting these in there. Oh, wow. That's so fragrantly beautiful. I'm gonna go in with some fresh sprigs of thyme. I'm gonna add in my mushrooms, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all those seasonings that I had and I'm gonna add them to the side, the outsides of the pan, and I'm gonna make a middle space so that I can put my mushrooms in there because I still want the seasoning to cook, but I know the highest heat is in the middle and I want my mushrooms to get most of that. So my seasonings can just chill out on the outside and then I'll mix it in later. Mushrooms are kind of like greens. You start with a whole bunch and next thing you know, you're like, wait a minute, there's only 2 teaspoons in here. So we gotta start with a lot because it's gonna reduce down. When the mushrooms cook down a bit, that's when you wanna go ahead and start stirring them in. Ooh, this smells so good. I'm gonna add in my walnut. At this point, play with it, taste it, season it the way it makes sense, and then we're gonna stuff them into our butternut squash. If you're anything like me, then cranberry sauce was just a Thanksgiving staple that never got eaten. It's like, why would anybody eat this on purpose? So it wasn't until I started cooking and started really getting into using as much natural whole foods as possible that I started paying attention to what is this cranberry sauce? And then when I got into my womb health, hello all you women experiencing fibroids, got into the womb health, hello all you women experiencing challenges with your menstrual cycle, endometriosis, PCOS, I was like, oh, these cranberries are actually great for us. I started cooking it. And now it is not just appearing as a centerpiece that no one touches, it actually gets eaten. So for this cranberry sauce, we are starting with fresh whole cranberries. I lied, they're not fresh, y'all, they're frozen, but they were fresh at some point. If you have fresh, cool, but frozen works just as well. Now this is a 1-pot meal, very, very simple. We're gonna start with 1 whole orange. Now this orange juice is fantastic because this orange juice allows us to get some of that natural sweetness in there, but it also adds a different flavor. So for this orange, I'm just gonna juice it. Arm day. Arm day is, honey, arm day all Thanksgiving. You can tell your personal trainer that you can take a rest for the rest of the year because you worked out 2 months worth, maybe 6 months for some of y'all, in 1 day. And we're gonna pour it right into this pot. And then in addition to the orange juice, we're gonna add some zest. Now it's important here that when you are zesting the orange, do your best. Listen, I'm not in your business, I don't know your budget, but do your best to get organic because there's less foolishness on the outside when you get organic. And since we're using the outside, we wanna make sure that what we're putting in here is actually going to work. Add a little bit of zest or a lot of it, it depends on you, however you like it. Brightens it up, gives your palate something different to explore, makes the meal just like sunshine. So yes, I'm gonna go in with my peel. The other thing that this does is not just flavor, it's also helping with the texture because inside the peel, you have pectin. And so this pectin is gonna help give it that thickness that we're used to in cranberry. Not like the stuff that comes out the mold, honey, not that out the can, but something a bit more like we're used to. Then we're gonna add in some spice. 1 cinnamon stick is all you need, but if you wanna explore, you could use star anise or clove will make it a lot more deeper. So have fun. I'm gonna do 1 cinnamon stick. And because this is tart, we're gonna add in some sweetener. Remember, one of the things I said earlier is like, this is Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving. So what we don't wanna do is just put so much foolishness in the food because it's Thanksgiving, and then we end up feeling inflamed and bloated and crazy afterwards. So instead of using white sugar, I'm gonna be using maple sugar. You could use maple syrup, you could use agave nectar, you could use coconut nectar. I'm using maple sugar because I find that it emulates most the level of sweetness that white sugar would had I used it in this. And like I said, it's a tart dish, and while I can eat a tart, I'm not just cooking for me. I'm cooking for other people, and I want people to eat it. I'm gonna just use a good 3 tablespoons. I'm gonna start there because I'm not trying to make dessert. I'm just trying to make this palatable enough for us to enjoy. And then I'm gonna add just enough water in here to kind of just cover the cranberries, but that orange juice is already in there, and the cranberries have their own liquid, so I don't want to drown out my flavors or anything. I just want enough so that it can kind of carry everything and cook. I'm gonna pop the lid on it, cook it at a temperature that allows it to kind of bubble, right? I'm not necessarily saying boiling. I just want a little bit of bubble, because in that bubble, what I know is happening is all those ingredients are coming together, and that heat is helping release and make those cranberries explode all their goodness. And then once I see that explosion and that melding is happening, then I'm gonna go ahead, turn it down, let it simmer. Just listen to what the cranberry sauce is telling you. You'll know when it's time to simmer, and you'll know when it's time to just activate it and heat it up. When it came to a starchy side, I know that we all do macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, candied yams, and while I have no doubt that those belong at the Thanksgiving table, don't get it wrong, I enjoy them, my vegan versions. However, they do often leave me feeling a little bit bloated and sometimes inflamed, because even though they're vegan, some of the ingredients just don't be hitting right in the system. So I wanted to create a starchy side dish that actually honored Thanksgiving and Thanks-living. And when it comes to this pumpkin, thanks to our indigenous ancestors and our indigenous community, we understand how to use some of these gourds. So we're gonna be doing a shallot pumpkin pillaf. We're gonna cut this up, and what we're eventually gonna do is roast this into little bite-sized pieces so we can enjoy it with our rice. Woo! Yes, God. You wanna scoop out the inside. If you want, you can save these pumpkin seeds, just rinse them off, and you can toast these, and you can just eat them like you would peanuts or whatever. So I advise, don't throw these away. Rinse them, and then roasting them. Top them on a salad, on your granola in the morning, your yogurt, etc. These are really, really tasty and full of a lot of nutrients that your body would appreciate. The best way to handle this is that these pumpkins have an outer exterior. You could roast it and eat it, not a problem. But because I'm thinking about biteability and the type of texture I want, I just want the softness of the pumpkin. So I'm gonna use my vegetable peeler, and I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna peel off this particular exterior. Once you get that exterior off, you're gonna take your pumpkin and you're just gonna cut it into small bite-sized pieces. You remember that sage garlic oil that I made to brush the butternut squash with? Well, we're gonna start with a bit of that. So I'm just gonna pour some of that into the pan. And it's okay if some of the garlic and the sage gets in there, not a problem, because all of it is flavor. So we're gonna start with that, let that heat up, and then we're gonna add in our shallots. Now that I have my shallots the way that I like them, I'm gonna now add in that pumpkin that we roasted. And at this point, it's already cooked because you roasted it. So what you're doing now is you're just letting it mix and mingle, because remember, we didn't add any seasoning to that pumpkin. So that garlic, sage oil that we have in the pan, along with those shallots, you just wanna let the pumpkin just marinate in that for a little bit with the heat, and you're gonna use that to flavor the pumpkin. And then we're gonna move this to the side, let this sit a bit, And then I'm going to take my pumpkin seeds and I'm going to pour those into the pan and let them toast. So now that I have my pumpkin seeds in there, they're getting toasted. The shallots, the pumpkin, I have the parsley. I'm not going to use any utensils right now because I don't want to mush that too much. So instead, I'm going to take my pan and I'm just going to lightly just shake it. Now at this point, it's time to add in the rice. I just cooked my rice in the rice cooker. I don't want to be bothered trying to figure this out on the stove, y'all. When it's Thanksgiving, I mean, I take shortcuts all the time, but when it's Thanksgiving, honey, I can't be bothered. So we're gonna add the rice in there. And notice I'm using a fork to add the rice in because I don't want my grains to clump. I want them to be individual grains. You know, sometimes the rice can kind of get together and not want to come apart. So using a fork helps with that. Oh, so nice. Oh, salt. Now this doesn't need a lot of extra flavoring, a lot of extra seasoning because we have started with sage and garlic and shallots. Like, it's in the pot. But we're gonna add some salt because you know what salt does? Salt elevates everything. It brings it all together. We just wanna bring it all together and make it complete. And I'm basically just using the fork to fold and mix. I'm not going in too hard here. I just want to incorporate the rice into the pumpkins and the parsley and that shallot and those pumpkin seeds. Oh, it's so pretty. You know, Thanksgiving meals are not complete without starch. You need that starch. But this is a way to have a starchy meal without feeling all the bloat and the heaviness. Because in that pumpkin, you got what? Fiber. When you have your Thanksgiving meal, make sure you balance out that plate with some fiber so you're not feeling constipated and bloated and crazy the next day. And that's it, y'all. Let me try it. Wow. Oh, wow. That's beautiful. Oh, I'm gonna add a little bit more salt, but that is beautiful. I can taste the base of that garlic and that sage. And I don't wanna hear anybody say I'm using the same fork. This is my plate. Oh, this is lovely. Oh, kinda hot. I love it. I'm so glad we got to spend this time together. Thank you for joining me and watching as I cook. I pray, I hope that these meals make it to your holiday table and bless you and your loved ones. And I also hope that you take those mindful tips that I shared in the beginning so that you have a stress-free holiday and a blessed one. You want those recipes? It's in the Holiday Eats cookbook. The link is in the description. All right, you all, until next time, eat well and be well. Ciao.